And so at the age of 40, I found myself in a place that I just never envisioned I would be. And that is, my husband and I had 3 kids under the age of 10, and I was unemployed. And my husband had been in the restaurant business with his best friend, and the housing crisis especially hit in the United States. And we found ourselves $800,000 in debt because we had secured the restaurant business like complete morons with our kids' college fund and our house and every credit card and the home equity line and the cars and everything. And that's great when your business is working. It's absolutely terrifying when it's not. And so I would wake up every morning just pinned to the bed with anxiety. And I became somebody that I barely recognized. I was screaming at Chris. I was drinking myself into the ground. The kids were missing the bus every day. I didn't have a job. I was hiding from my friends. I hadn't told my family what was going on. And you know, the thing that's interesting about being stuck in life is that the fact is, you know what you need to do. That's the easy part. And if you don't know what you need to do to improve the situation, then Google it. There's approximately a bazillion videos out there of people like you that have been in the exact same situation. They will walk you through there are books you can buy, there are courses. The what you need to do is out there. It's the how. How the fuck do you make yourself do what you need to do? When you are scared or overwhelmed or anxious or hopeless or depressed or any of the stuff that happens to you as a human. That's the $100 million question. And at the time, I didn't have the answer. I knew I needed to look for a job. I knew I needed to stop screaming at Chris. I knew I needed to get the kids on the bus. I knew I needed to ask for help. I wasn't doing any of those things. I was stuck in broken patterns. And I didn't know any of the things that we're talking about right now. But one night, I was sitting there and I was watching TV and I was telling myself, tomorrow morning, it's got to be the new you. I was giving myself that lame pep talk like, Mel, you've got to stop drinking. You have got to be nice to Chris. You have got to pull your shit together. You got to look for a job. And by God, woman, when that alarm rings, you cannot lay there like a human pot roast marinating in fear and staring at the ceiling. You have got to get out of bed, woman. And then all of a sudden, this is divine intervention. The rocket ship launches across a television screen, Stephen, and I say, that's it. That's it. Tomorrow morning, when the alarm goes off, Mel Robbins, you're going to launch yourself out of bed like a rocket ship. You're going to move so fast, you're not going to be in that bed when that anxiety hits. Now, it was either God or bourbon. One of those two things gave me the idea because it sounds dumb. Okay, Mel, you're going to beat anxiety by moving fast. That sounds great. Well, the very next morning, it was a Tuesday in February outside of Boston, Massachusetts in 2008. The alarm went off. And I think a lot about this moment. Because if I hadn't done what I did that morning, my life would have gone in a totally different direction. I'd probably be divorced. I'd probably be an alcoholic. My family would be torn apart. No idea what I'd be doing for a living or where I would be. And I profoundly believe that you are one decision away from a different life. And that happened to me on a February morning in 2008. The alarm rang. And as soon as the alarm rang, I remembered the idea of launching myself out of bed. And then I did what psychologists call a bias toward thinking. And this window opens up when you start to think about what you need to do instead of doing what you need to do. It's this window of hesitation that's about 5 seconds long. A window of hesitation that defines your whole life. Inside this window of hesitation lives anxiety and procrastination and fear and imposter syndrome and overwhelm. All patterns of thinking, all patterns of feeling, all patterns of behavior that get triggered in this 5-second window of thinking about what you need to do. Because it's in the thinking that you go from being present to all the patterns kicking in and the coping mechanisms that you have. And so for whatever reason, I started to think about getting up and all the shit started to come in. I don't feel like it. How's it going to help? I don't want to. For whatever reason, I just started counting backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I stood up. And I used it the next morning and the next morning. And by the third morning, I was kind of freaked out because I'm like, okay, this is working. This is weird. And I said, Mel, I made myself a promise. If at any moment you know what you need to do, but you don't feel like it, just count backwards and let's just see what happens. And so I started using it, Stephen, this little count backwards technique, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. No idea why it's working, by the way. In any moment, I'd see Chris, I'd want to kill him. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All of a sudden, I'm calm. I can speak to him from a more supportive place. Kids are irritating. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a breath. And now I can be the mom that I know I want to be. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going out the door to exercise. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm picking up the phone and I'm networking. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm picking up the phone and calling my parents and asking for help. And slowly but surely, one decision at a time, using the 5-second rule. And the 5-second rule is very simple. The moment you have an instinct to move, you got to do it within 5 seconds or your brain will kill it. And counting backwards is critical. I now know why it works. When you count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you interrupt habit loops stored in your basal ganglia. And the counting backwards requires focus, so it awakens this sucker right here, your prefrontal cortex. It's referred to as a starting ritual in habit research, a cheat code for your brain. And basically, I used it in secret for 3 years because, I mean, what am I going to do? Tell people you can count to 5 and you change your life? I mean, it sounds ridiculous. Plus, I was just trying to survive. I'm trying to find a job and save my marriage and help my husband and make sure my kids are okay and start to pay our bills and make the ends meet. And that's what I was doing. And one thing led to another, and word got out about it, and people started to write to me about it. And it has now gone on to change the lives of millions of people. We know of 111 people who have stopped themselves from attempting suicide by counting backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. When I had a daytime talk show, an entire wing of nurses from an inpatient unit at a psychiatric hospital in Philadelphia came to my talk show and explained to me after the show that of all the tools that they have when they discharge somebody from an inpatient commitment, that the 5-second rule is the most effective thing that they have, except for medication, obviously, but it's the most effective thing that they have because it's simple and you can remember it and anybody can use it and it works. And I think we make a huge mistake in life. We make the mistake of believing that because our problems are big or because our dreams are so big, that somehow the solution to achieving those dreams or to solving those problems must be enormous too. When in truth, it's the opposite. The larger the problem, the smaller the solution. The bigger the dream, the smaller the actions are that you need to start taking.
Super compelling, because that also has a lot of similarities with your new book.
Yeah.
The High Five Habit.
It does. Yeah.
So I'd love to hear the story of how this was born. And I imagine that came out of, as you said, a low point in your life where you were looking for what you thought would probably be a complex solution to a set of complex sort of problems and dynamics in your life. But the High Five Habit is more centered around gratitude and I guess like self-appreciation. Is that an accurate description of the
Yeah,
habit?
yeah. Like it's, even knowing what I know about the 5-second rule, I believe the High Five Habit is 1,000 times more powerful. And the reason why I say that is because the 5-second rule will help you break patterns of behavior. It'll help you push through fear. It'll help you take action. It'll help you interrupt thoughts. It will help you walk away from things, define boundaries. It's very action-oriented.
Overcome procrastination.
Yeah, overcome procrastination. The High Five Habit works at a much deeper level. It solves what I believe is everybody's core issue and problem. And that is the issue and the habit of hating yourself, of criticizing yourself, of not liking yourself, of beating yourself up. And as successful as I've become and as much as I've accomplished, it wasn't until I stumbled into the high five habit